So hello everyone. So I'm going to talk about the basic cloud, show the cloud, and what it is, and why it's so powerful, and why I decided to make this video. So as you probably know, everyone probably heard about ChatGPT and GPT, right? Your grandmother and grandfather, everyone around you probably knows it, heard about it, ChatGPT. But there's besides ChatGPT, there's other GPT is created by a company called OpenAI. You probably also about it too. But the other companies like Google's, and then there's a Anthropic, who also make a similar models. And Anthropic actually was companies that was actually who were having working for OpenAI. They decide to make own companies to focus on more safety and other things. So they decided to come up with the name Anthropic. How the OpenAI was a leader a while back then. And then but Anthropic was silently working on things like a model context protocol and a lot of things that was interesting. So now, what I found surprising while I was been traveling for a while is that Anthropic's cloud, which is their model, LLM model, large language model, have been actually using very widely, even more than OpenAI. Than when I was visiting other places and talked to developers. So it was very powerful models that most developers nowadays it can change, of course, that actually many developers choose to use. Reason why I want to talk about in this what I want to talk about in this video is that thing called Fable, which is their latest and greatest at the moment, the model, LLM model at the moment, and the Anthropic released something called Fable 5. They kind of was blocked by the government, but they released it after July 1st. So then it's going to be they're going to give it till now it's till July 19, which is today. They kind of give it allowing based on like a subscription based till actually today after today is going to be more like based change it to utility based. But if a Fable 5 is so powerful, and you've probably seen a lot of videos about it, so I probably want to highlight that what is it more like technical perspective, what you can do with it, and just kind of overview. Then actually just talking about the demo, right? So Anthropic again is that the AI company, just like OpenAI, and then you can see the website from anthropic.com here. And what I want to talk about next is a Fable. Again, this is the highlight for today. Is this video. Is Claude Fable is at the moment again is the latest greatest LLM model that Anthropic offer, right? The Claude model, Claude LLM model. So you can see from this news channel, it was not available in June 12, so the government blocked it. And there's Mythos 5 is more for enterprise version of that, more powerful. So it's available if you were using enterprise. But it has been so temporarily paused for a while. So Anthropic had blocked for all the users, right? And there was a decision. So and then many friends I have were talking about who has actually chance to use this, talk about how great this was and how powerful it is, and they show some example they built. So it was very very interesting. So then after in the starting June 30, technical July 1st of this year, is they Anthropic listed again. So and for the Fable 5 and Mythos 5. So then it's going to be keep using till they keep extending it to June to July 19th. Then they originally doing only to July 7th or whatever. They keep extending it that users can use it for based on the subscription based. That to then you can use a Fable 5. So it's so powerful model, and that's what I want to talk about today. Pricing wise, so before talking about this token pricing things, let's talk about the actual pricing for subscription. The cloud free version is you can use it for chat and other things. It's pretty useful. Handle create cover images or some of my blog and everything. Answer a lot of questions, answer a lot of questions I have, whatever. But if you want to use the code, which is for coding project, you have to use a pro. So it has things like cloud code and co-work design and the cloud science and etc. And what I have right now, at least for now, is a Max. So there's actually two different versions of a Max. So there's a 5x and 20x. I have a 5x version, which is $100 per month. I have an option to downgrade it or upgrade it. So, but many people I talk to didn't have this option or 20x, max 5x or 20x. I originally signed up for Pro, but I liked it so much, I changed the max, at least for now, right? And I was able to make like 4 different projects, although not list yet. And it was so powerful. Just within 1 week, I was able to, like less than 1 week, more like 4 days. I was able to launch. I mean, I was to make build a prototype for 2 projects. Within about 2 weeks, I was able to get closer to for my other 2 project to completion for 2 other project, and still working on other things, answering like sharing documentation and other things. It's very 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 powerful, and then the power is just so amazing. And again, so one thing that you will notice and it's important to know is that token has like own like a rate limit things. So for example, different models, for example, Fable 5, Opus, and then Sonnet, and there's now the Mythos and whatever. Higher models, of course, consume more tokens. So if you, for example, sign up for Pro option, and if you use a Fable as your default one, it will probably be less than like 1 hour. You'll be able to quickly learning out the total usage token for the session, right? But then Opus 4.8 on other end, which is the next highest option, if it's, there's something called effort, like things like low, medium, high, extended, and then ultra code. Even if it's set to that, if you have a max option, you'll be able to use it for like almost entire that session period. So again, the result it was quite different. Although Opus 4.8 is still a great option, but notice something you have to notice is that if you use a Fable 5, it will quickly drown the like all the token, especially if you use a Pro. You really don't have like many things you can do with it, or you can generate prototype, those kind of things, right? So just be aware of this, and then how much token you use. You have options to monitor that, as I will show you later in your cloud desktop. But those something you have to be aware of, right? So that's that, and I can give you an overview. Now finally, let's get into to show you actual cloud desktop. Alright, this is my computer, Mac OS. I just recently upgraded to Mac OS Tau, and it looks pretty cool. But anyway, that's not what we're going to talk about. So first, I install Cloud in my Mac OS, but I can probably use web version. I'm going to show my Cloud code. And then so I'm going to go to apps, although you can see my icons here, but other ways to search for it. I mean, Windows is going to be similar idea, and then you can see that I have a Cloud here. So I'm going to open it. I have other Cloud installed on my other profile for the Mac OS, but this is going to be I just create new file just for this demo purpose. That's why you see that welcome screen and sign in screen. I'm going to sign with my Google account that I have associated with it. So I'm going to continue. And this is the Cloud code. The first thing you see after you signed in, and then there is technically basically two things you have to be aware of, because I'm using the Cloud code paid subscription. You can see I'm in the max, and then this because I pay for it, and that's why the code is coming along with it. And but other thing is it's just mainly the chat screen. There's a primary things. You can use it to chat for free if you're using just the normal free version, and you can create like some cool cover images and things like that through the Cloud too using chat. But the code is specifically for the paid version only, and it's for Pro or higher. And then I think so main thing I wanted to talk about is that till July 19, actually today, and is basically Fable keep extending it, but starting July 1st, Fable 5 got released, and then you can see that this is here. You can see different model, like Fable 5, and then Opus, Sonnet, Haiku, etc. So this is the one that they kind of give it for the basically the allowance base, right? So after that, it's going to change it to just how much you use, and you get charged for it, and then those things are going to be you have to paying with your credit card or whatever. But the Fable 5 made a lot of I guess a lot of people talked about it, and it was pretty cool. And then I think that's kind of one thing I want to show for demo, but I can also kind of see maybe comparison between other models too. But before jumping into other things, because there's other features, but probably that's the most important thing is the model. So just to kind of briefly talk about is that, so there's the favorite 5, which is for the latest version, latest and greatest version. And then there's a, it's going to be so powerful. I was very surprised by this. And you can keep using it. Again, you have to pay with extra for whatever you use. You can pay, like, for example, $10, $5, $20, but it will quickly drain out whatever you pay for. But then if you just do it for, like, you kind of use this space, use allowance space, then you can I can show the screen later. It is going to be that just reset every time, whenever you do it, but it's going to be to July 19, unless Anthropic extended again. So this is the most powerful model. Next, the highest model is Opus 4.8, at least at the moment, at the time of this video creation. It's the one that I actually use quite often because it can reset every time. And then when I use it, Opus 4.8, and I can definitely talk about my experience using it. But there, even when I use it for let's talk about that one first. So you can see the favorite 5 for Opus 4.8, Sonnet 5, and Haiku 4.5. Besides doing that, you can actually choose the effort. And then, for example, Opus 4.8 has the option for anywhere between the low, medium, high, extra, max. I quite use the max a lot, and then just for the like just anything. But if I go to code, there's also things called ultra code, and I can show you. But this is going to be something that if you want to put a lot of things better resolved, then it's going to be the option for you, right? And then again, Sonnet is going to be something that it was one of the latest model while back then, maybe till like in last year ish. But then now it's a kind of medium, kind of normal task version, so it's still powerful. And Haiku is just if you want something quick, right? And then you can also choose effort for this too, so different type of effort you can choose, etc. So, and then there's a thinking model, thinking like a mode, which is just doesn't generate a quick response right away, but this just helps to, like, if you want something more complex task, this is definitely going to be helpful. And then there's more model. Again, there's going to be, like, if you decide to use, like, older model, there's option for you. Maybe you want to do some kind of comparison, or maybe you want to just reduce the token usage. Just there's the option for you if you're happy with it, but just know what you're losing. So that's the chat and the co-work. There's two type of things there in the option, and then let's say 44.8, and you can see the effort, etc. So on the left side, there is going to be, for jumping into the usage part, there's different types of things, like you can create new sessions, and I have other things here. Again, the chat doesn't remain in the, like, when you keep using it, no matter if you change it from your mobile to another computer. If you sign in, chat will be there. That's why I keep hidden. But so that's going to be there. And then, but the code is per session. So, like, if you're using different computer, or if you're using mobile, you're not able to see it unless you set it up that way, so it can be remotely connect to your computer or whatever. So you will just keep it opening until you like a chat, and then or co-work, etc. But let me go, before talking about that, let's talk about what those things are. The project is gonna be like, sample. There's a sample there. It's basically, if you want to do something like, is something more like, it's a package kind of things instead of one single chat. So I'm going to use example version. So, like, how do I use it, right? And then it's going to come up with some things, and then is etc. things. But this is great for if you want to be, like, coming with things like, like a specific bundle together things. So, then artifact. So based on what I search and things like that, because I kind of create a lot of things related to the, you can see my example here. Like, I was creating this YouTube for travel and blog for travel. So you can kind of see the example there, because I was even traveling a lot. So you can kind of see these things there, and you can use it as an artifact because it doesn't remember. So because of any resource that got generated, like cover images, whatever, is considered to be artifact. Whatever generated, you can reuse it again. So this is where you can find it. Schedule, again, just as things like a co-work and the schedule, it's a little bit like a different concept there. But then this is similar in some sense because cowork can also help to send, for example, daily briefing or the stock news like per periodical basis. So this is scheduled task is a little could be redundant, but you can do it for something simple stuff. You can see the monitor topics, content idea, etc. Right? And dispatch is that like for example, um, you can basically handle to like talk to cloud, and you can have a phone there. You wanted if you're learning this inside a computer, you want to keep using it because there's for the allowance usage, you want to keep using it and be like it work. So while on the go you can use it. I never really use it much. You can see it's a beta, so maybe it's going to be thing later, but it's going to be there, and there's a customized option. So before going into that, let me kind of go into the other part first. So there's also design, which is an interesting concept. So what I noticed so far is that like so far I try to create some like images and other things and drew that. Cloud was not, at least at the moment, was not so good at it. Other than the blog cover images, whatever. For example, I asked Cloud to help me to create a webtoon, which is like kind of Korean webtoon styles things, and then it was not exactly what I expected. I provided sample like design, but it was still using the vectorized images. And if you create like comic using the vectorized, you can see how you can see the limit of how good it can get. So those kind of things you can see the limitation there. But this is basically helpful if you want to create a presentation slide and other things. It can help to do that. Because cloud can also talk to things like a Google Drive and other integration. It can help to upload, create it, design it, test it, and upload it. So this is going to be a very useful concept. So you can see the template, design system, etc. So you can see the example there. So now literally before going into code and then show the demo, I want to kind of show that what it's going to be like in the usage and in the setting, because that's important. I mentioned that the Fable 5 is going to include until July 19, unless that something does happen, which is today at 9 p.m. Central. So here's my settings, and then you can see that things like whatever appearance, I can customize appearance like in night mode or whatever, and things like that. But most important things, I don't want to show them the link, but important thing I want to show is the usage. So this is going to be the way I've been using it pretty much every day for maybe like 10 hours each for like all this cloud work and etc. for like for coding and things like that. So you can see how much I've been using it. So the basic things I want to highlight is that I'm currently using Max 5, Max the I guess the first version of Max. So there's the Pro, Max, and then Max higher Max 20x or something like that. So basically I can do it like those kind of things, subscription option. But you can see that there's things like current session, which is that it does reset every like certain hour time base. Right now is I have a 3 hour and 42 minutes. If I don't use it, it is still you get reset. So it's probably better just to use as much as possible, which will keep working is the while this is session usage allowance is there, right? And then our models is just combination where you use Sonnet, Haiku, Fable, or Opus. It will be coming from this. Again, it does get reset, but the little things that I want to talk about is Fable. Fable is I believe you can use it after the July 19. But what is going to be changing, and then again, it's going to be after today. It's going to be gone. Is that it was able to using you can use the most powerful model. Is it based on a certain time base, and if it doesn't reset, you can use it all over again. But then I also pay for usage credit because I just need something extra. I'm going to just save it for later purpose, and then and I just save it the Fable things just for this video, just to give it like, and also some other coded things for the project I have to keep working on. But then the Fable things is probably going to be gone after today, and then going to be there. So yeah, that's going to be where you can find about the usage limit, and then other things, and you can adjust the limit, etc. And then other things is probably interesting. And then like there's a co-work, which is if it's kind of delegated things that you can help to schedule and other things. And then I think one of the things you will come across a lot is that it's going to become like a more advanced cloud developer, things like extension, right? And then developer options, right? Like for example, MCP is called the Model Context Protocol. In my other YouTube video, I have a video for that. So those kind of things will be something you will come across. Skill. So like for example, when you work on things like especially enterprise, like let's say there's someone who has yearly experience and they will have a certain guideline, design guideline, coding guideline, architecture guideline. Those things can be created, and also depending on how kind of what kind of prompt want to be generated over and over again, style, things like that. Those things can be incorporated as a skill. So like whenever it generates response, it will always look up this first, and then able to kind of come up with things like that, right? And then connectors is a different kind of connection integration. There's always default. I really didn't need anything at the moment other than Google GitHub integration. So those things, like when you sign in, you will be able to connect, ask you to connect, and when you sign in, you'll be able to add it automatically edit there, and then it's plugin and the memory, etc. Now those things are kind of that's gonna give like overview of all the things that I wanna show. But now let's jump into the code. Alright, so this is a code, and then you can see that there's other options too, like loud and dispatch, etc. But I really want to show that simple project, show the demonstration how powerful Fable is, and I hopefully I can show the comparison between Opus and other things too. But then, so when you start first time, so unlike the chat, which is other option there, code is per session and per computer. So like if you have a computer here, unless you're using Mac computer, just keep learning, or mini Mac or Mac minis at home and just to talk with the other trying to access that computer. When you open a new profile like me here or new computer, those things are not going to be remembered. Just remember that. So I have another profile which are working, actually two profile working on different project. Those things are going to be independent from this. Just remember that. So anyway, I'm going to one thing actually before doing that is that session is an important concept. You can just like the chat, you can learn like a multiple simultaneous session. For example, it can be the same project, same folder, or it can be for the different project. For example, I have one project which is about the community things, local community, and I have another thing is another project which is about the finance stuff. So I can open two sessions for finance, one session for local community project. Keep work using that, and it's actually important if you're using something like the Max, because that session will be even I use it Opus 4.8 ultra code effort all the time for the entire session time. It'll be something that you will be able to see it here, right? So whatever that say allows in the session, right? So those things are really important, because if you even I was using that for multiple sessions, it was able to actually close to 100%, 90%. So if you're using something like a Max and then not using Fable, of course, then it's very helpful to learn multiple sessions simultaneously. Otherwise, it's unlikely that you'll be able to use all the things at the moment. So I'm going to show you, first thing is I'm going to select a folder first, right? So I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call this is going to be the demo project. Well, let me call the cloud demo, right? Again, if you can have multiple sessions and then multiple projects running simultaneously, just remember that. And then I'm going to trust workspace. Okay, so like a lot of things I've seen in their YouTube, and then when I was searching for it was related to games. So let me think about some games, because I think they'll be interesting to see. First thing, I'm going to choose the model. I'm going to choose a Fable. I'm going to choose the Fable, and then I'm going to choose the effort is low, And then again, you can. So the one thing is that you can see that the option there's anywhere between the low, medium, high, extra, max, and ultra code. And you can imagine how much things will be drowned. And I did use Opus 4.8 ultra code a lot. It's pretty helpful, but I still saw the limitation between Opus 4.8 ultra code versus a Fable, even in the high option. high, effort, high option. So I'm going to use a Fable. I'm going to use low, and what I have idea for it. So I'm going to ask it, just because now the World Cup is going to end it today. So I'm going to ask it to create something like create a simple soccer game that is looks like create a soccer game. I'm going not simple that I can play on my computer, right? Start simple, right? So it's going to come up with, and just like you've been seeing a lot of things like ChatGPT and then other Google Gemini and other things. It's you're going to give it like similar style. So while you're doing this, you can see that tokens, number of tokens get like just calculated, and then because it's using Fable, it will quickly drown the the allows usage a lot. So that's something that you have to remember. So those kind of things, it will use the Fables, because compared to other things, it does use a lot. So, and the one thing is, how I'm doing this is that, so one big difference I noticed between the Fable versus Office, even I use Office for a Ultra code, was that Fable was much more detailed and true. What can still able to make a decision. Now as it came up, you can see that this is doing that, and then I can use it with the, and it's a little bit clunky. You can see that this is, I say that pretty simple one, nothing special, and then R restart all the time. Again, the result, because it is is the AI is generating things, it would be probably different every single time I ask it for it, and I can keep providing other things to do it. um so so this is a pretty at least good result. If you were able to make that like using from start programming from the very first time, it would take a while to make something like this even, right? You have to calculate all the algorithm and all the data structures, those kind of things. So this is pretty cool. So now if you wonder, is I want to see the code, what program language is. Okay, so it says it's just HTML. So I can also resize this or open a new as an entire screen. So again, if you see the code, you can see how notice that you can also open of course that extra file. You can notice is how it's going to be, even its HTML file is it made a pretty comprehensive like a code, like all this algorithm calculation. If you do it by yourself, it would probably take a while. It was able to do it almost like within minutes. So pretty cool, right? Now I'm going to ask say, can you help to improve the user, I mean the design of graphic design of the user, the players. Maybe make it 3D, right? So in a while this is processing again, and then it's just gonna, you're gonna see the result. Reason is again calculating things again. So let me kind of look at another session. I'm going to could change this to Office, and I'm going to change it to Ultra code, and all that again next to the highest one. I'm going to ask exactly the same kind of questions, and then see the result, right? So and to see how it's going to be different, right? So one is for this is for the Office 448 Ultra code, and other one is the Fable 5 low, and I want to kind of compare the difference, and you kind of already made already. You can see it's still a little clunky, but you can see that, and then there's can see the balls bouncing, and you can kind of point out. So those kind of things, right? But it was able to make a little better screen. The design, graphic design, and he's still working on it. So you can see that the model is getting used. It's a 53% because I turn it as low. That's why it's probably it's not as consuming as quickly. But now if I check the other one, Opus Performane, you can see still processing is slower than the Fable 5. So Fable 5, what I noticed when I was making a website, it was actually, how to say, very comprehensive, and it's kind of able to judge per itself whether this is really good design or not. So even I ask her for to do this, and then you have to just do that, it's actually able to do more and then more comprehensive design. So one time I was asked to migrate my website project because it was somehow designed in the Firebase. It was designed as a client-side rendering, and I want to move to server-side rendering. And actually, Claude was able to pinpoint that I should move to server-side rendering, because it was able to is go come in the search engine, and also like whenever I share through the things like a messenger, it was able to show the preview. So I did the migration, and there's a lot of files in the web written in React.js, and then next Node.js and other things. So it was able to migrate everything to the next.js. In actually, pretty, in both of them, they were great, Opus and then the Fable. The Fable, but however, was able to do it just almost instantly. Exact design, able to migrate everything. But Opus 4.8 Ultra code was actually didn't exactly get it the first time. Design was broken, functionality broken, but it did remember what has to change. So I have to give a lot of a prompt after that to able to guide it through. And other thing is that Fable was able to kind of able to make decision on his own, keep going most of the time. But then Office 4.8 keep asking, hey, this is what you want. Do you want to allow it? So I have to be always at the computers to kind of click it all the time. So those kind of things are the main things I noticed for those two things. So Office 4.8, even I set it to Ultra code, it still needed a lot of guidance, and the result was good, but it wasn't still like there's a lot of room for improvement. I have to give a really precise like the prompt. The Fable, on the other hand, was able to kind of judge for itself. Hey, this is exactly what the user like, and so I will give it more, right? So that was kind of a little the difference, right? And you can see that also the time things you notice that it consumes less token. It consumes less token compared to the other one, but you can see that it actually take a long times to process. And again, because I set it to the because I set it and also because I set it to the something like the so it's somehow it's able to give the very similar like option. I don't know why. Maybe because able to is able to remember that I bought the project, but this is gonna what it looks like, right? And it's still thinking and then things like that. So what I want to show next is that I'm going to ask a new session, and I'm going to set to Fable 5, and then I'm going to set to Medium. I'm going to ask it to design a website, e-commerce website where we can sell pets latest items. And then just give a particular things. I'm going to set to something like Sonnet, and I'm going to set the Ultra code, and I'm going to ask it to create a different e-commerce site. Create an e-commerce website where I can sell mobile accessory. So let's see the result. And then this is Ultra code. So one of the things that even for Fable, but it does actually do this a lot in the like lower version, more model. It does ask it the decision how you want to do it, which is pretty nice. I can also provide option. So those things are something to remember. It will be asking to really prompt you what you want to do, or you can provide it. So and then but it will chance have to make informed decision. It still doesn't require human decision. You can see that also in the website one it keeps waiting. So this yellow one is just blinking, means that it's needed human decisions to make, and then the blue dot means that typically is it done, right? And then you can kind of give it extra polish, extra stuff, but usually means it's done, right? There's a front end demo. So I'm going to select that, and it's asking what kind of things you want to use, and then simple catalog, and then again this is Ultra code, and then I'm going to get the other one here, And then this one's using the, you can see the difference between token is getting used, right? This is ultra code Sonnet 1.3 thousand token, 1300 token ish, and this is like, you know, technically done, but you probably use a lot of tokens there. So and then, so let me see it. So this is kind of the design it got generated. So let me go to probably copy this and then go back here, and then if I open the Chrome, let me bring on this. This is kind of what it looks like for the, when I ask it for Fable 5. Looks pretty cool. So even though it was using sample design, other things, and I didn't ask much, it was just this created this amazing design, all these things together. Now let's compare what I got it for. It's still working on it for the mobile, you know, accessory site. Again, still working on it, so I'm gonna pause for a while. So, and then this is ultra code, still working on it. So again, as I talked about before, one of the things that, you know, ultra like a lower model for Fable 5, like ultra code Opus for Opus or the Sonnet, it usually take a long time. Of course, you can adjust the effort, but just it's something to notice, you know. So Fable is a faster typically and more comprehensive, and also very like powerful in many different ways. So this is ultra code. Actually, create pretty nice design. So, and actually it was more like actually still buggy, and then I can hear the sound, and then pretty cool. At least seems like working, right? So it's nothing like a FIFA or the just now with this called the, you know, football club things, but it's pretty cool, right? And there's a sound on and off option, restart option, still pretty cool, right? So other interesting thing is that like when you while working on it is if it can like Claude can handle like scheduled tasks, it can learn script, or it can create a script, it can learn if you create a script as needed, it can talk to the other things with your, of course, your permission, and then you will be able to generate spin out the like some of the agents to kind of process it, background things, background like, you know, background task. So it's called like a daemon process. You can, for example, I click this and you can see that it's learning task is asking to allow this. So you can see that all these things there, pretty cool. And again, when I chose the Sonnet 5 Ultra code, it was very slow. Even something probably simple as making e-commerce website is taking like a 20 minutes or something like that. It's been learning for a long time. So something to be able to notice that, you know, is like not just the, I guess, the result, how good the result is, just the things like, you know, the time in general. If you use a lower model, it can take quite a while, right? So I think that's going to be something I'm going to stop today, and also I can keep learning this for a while, but that's it. And then thanks for watching this video, and hope for you to see you guys next time. Bye bye.